My name is Emma Taylor, and at 32 years old, I never imagined my own family would break my heart over Christmas dinner. For 6 years, I worked double shifts as a hospital janitor to keep our family afloat, secretly paying my younger sister Amanda's college tuition. Despite my sacrifices, Amanda called me just a janitor and excluded me from her Christmas party. When I turned to my parents for support, their response shattered me completely. Before I dive into how my family broke my heart that December evening, let me know where you're watching from and hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for what happened when I finally stood up for myself. Growing up in Portland, Oregon, our family seemed picture perfect from the outside. My parents, Gerald and Nancy Taylor, provided a comfortable middle-class life for Amanda and me. We lived in a modest 3-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood, took annual summer vacations to the coast, and celebrated holidays with extended family. But beneath that veneer of normalcy, there was always an undercurrent of favoritism that I couldn't escape. From our earliest days, Amanda was the golden child. 3 inches taller than me with our mother's blonde hair and our father's striking blue eyes, she commanded attention in any room. I took after my grandmother with mousy brown hair and a petite frame, fading into the background at family gatherings while Amanda charmed everyone with her outgoing personality. "Emma, why can't you be more like your sister?" became a common refrain throughout my childhood. When I brought home straight A's, my achievement would be acknowledged with a quick, "good job," before the conversation shifted to Amanda's B- in math and how she was really trying her best. When I won first place in the state science fair in 10th grade, my parents skipped the ceremony because it conflicted with Amanda's soccer game where she mostly sat on the bench. "Your sister needs our support more than you do," my mother explained afterward. "You always figure things out on your own." And I did figure things out on my own. I studied hard, earned a partial scholarship to the state university, and was accepted into their nursing program. I worked part-time jobs throughout college to cover what my scholarship didn't, never asking my parents for financial help. Meanwhile, Amanda floated through high school with mediocre grades and an active social life. Everything changed 6 years ago when my father's construction business collapsed during the economic downturn. At 57, Dad was suddenly unemployed with significant business debts and a mortgage underwater. Mom's part-time job at a local florist wasn't enough to keep us afloat. The stress took a visible toll on both of them, aging them seemingly overnight. I was 26 then, in my final year of nursing school with just 2 semesters left before graduation. Amanda was 18 and had just been accepted to Westridge University, a prestigious private college known for its business program and steep tuition costs. "We're going to lose the house," my father confessed one night at the dinner table, his voice cracking. "And we can't afford Amanda's tuition. She'll have to go to community college instead." I'll never forget the way Amanda's face crumpled, tears streaming down her cheeks. "But all my friends are going to real colleges. Community college will ruin my life." My parents looked devastated, and something inside me shifted. That night, I made a decision that would alter the course of my life. I withdrew from nursing school, forfeiting my scholarship and the chance to complete my degree. Instead, I took a full-time position as a janitor at Portland Memorial Hospital, plus weekend shifts at a nursing home across town. "Emma, you can't give up your education," my mother protested weakly when I told them my plan. "It's just temporary," I assured her. "The hospital job pays surprisingly well with overtime, and they offer tuition assistance if I want to go back later." What I didn't tell them was that I had calculated exactly how much money the family needed monthly to keep the house and pay Amanda's tuition. It would require me working 60 to 70 hours weekly, leaving little time for sleep, let alone a social life. But seeing the relief on my parents' faces and Amanda's tears of gratitude made it seem worth it. "You're the best sister ever," Amanda gushed, hugging me tightly. "I promise I'll make you proud." For the first year, things worked according to plan. I handed over most of my paychecks to my parents, keeping just enough for gas and basic necessities. Dad found part-time work at a hardware store, and Mom increased her hours at the florist. Amanda completed her freshman year with decent grades and came home for the summer full of stories about campus life and her new friends. By the second year, I had established a grinding routine. Mornings at the hospital from 6 to 2, evenings at the nursing home from 4 to midnight, collapsing into bed for a few hours before starting again. Weekends were double shifts at the hospital. My hands grew calloused from harsh cleaning chemicals, my back ached constantly, and dark circles became permanent fixtures under my eyes. During my third year of this arrangement, I secretly began taking night classes at the community college, using a small portion of my earnings and the hospital's tuition assistance program. One class per semester was all I could manage with my work schedule, but it gave me hope that I was slowly working toward my own goals while supporting my family. Amanda rarely called except when she needed extra money for textbooks, sorority fees, or spring break trips that somehow became necessities. Each time, I dipped into what little savings I had managed to accumulate, telling myself it was an investment in her future. When Amanda graduates and gets a good job, things will be different, I told myself on particularly exhausting nights. She'll help the family then, and maybe I can finally finish my nursing degree. Last year, I received a promotion to environmental services supervisor at the hospital. Though my title still contained the word janitor, it came with better pay and slightly more reasonable hours. I was able to drop the nursing home job and take 2 classes per semester instead of 1. No one in my family seemed to notice the change in my schedule or the reduced financial contribution, which had become expected rather than appreciated. When I visited home for Sunday dinners, conversation revolved around Amanda's adventures at college, her internship prospects, and her expanding social circle. My parents hung on her every word while I quietly ate my meal, too exhausted to compete for attention. If anyone asked about my work, it was a perfunctory, "How's the job?" followed by a quick topic change before I could fully answer. The sacrifices continued to mount. I missed my best friend's wedding because I couldn't afford both the time off and a gift. I postponed dental work when Amanda needed money for a study abroad program in Spain. I drove the same rusting Toyota I'd had since high school while Amanda posted photos of her spring break road trip in a rented convertible. Despite everything, I continued to pay Amanda's tuition directly to the university each semester, a fact I kept private from my parents to spare them financial stress. It was our secret Amanda had promised. Something special between sisters. Until everything fell apart 3 weeks before Christmas. The first snow of December had just fallen when I scrolled through Instagram during my lunch break. Between bites of a peanut butter sandwich, I paused at a photo that made my heart sink. There was Amanda in our parents' living room, hanging Christmas decorations alongside our cousins Jack and Melissa. The caption read, "Getting ready for the Christmas party of the year. #family traditions, #Christmas vibes." I frowned, setting down my sandwich. What Christmas party? No one had mentioned any gathering to me, and family celebrations were typically discussed weeks in advance. I continued scrolling through Amanda's feed and found more references to an upcoming holiday party at our parents' house, including a formal invitation template she'd shared in her stories. With a growing knot in my stomach, I texted Amanda, "Hey, saw your posts about a Christmas party. When is it? I'll request time off." Her response came hours later. After my shift had ended and I was trudging through slush to my car, "Oh, it's nothing big. Just some of my college friends and a few relatives. Very last-minute thing." The dismissive tone was clear even through text, but I pressed further. "Looks like you've been planning it for a while based on your posts. I'd love to come and meet your friends." 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times before her reply finally came. "It's kind of a specific crowd, Emma. Mostly my business program friends and internship connections. You'd be bored." I stood beside my car, snow collecting on my shoulders, reading and rereading her message. The implication was clear, but I needed to hear it directly. I called her instead of texting back. "Hey, I was just about to call you," Amanda answered brightly, the background noise suggesting she was at a cafe or restaurant. "No, you weren't," I said quietly. "I want to know why I'm not invited to this Christmas party." She sighed dramatically. "Emma, it's not a big deal. It's just that everyone coming is, in my professional circle. Future business leaders, corporate types. People who are what?" I prompted when she trailed off. "People who are more successful." She finished reluctantly. "It would be awkward to explain my sister the janitor to them. They'd think it's weird." The words hit me like a physical blow. "I'm paying your tuition," I reminded her, my voice barely above a whisper. "I work as a janitor so you can be with those people." "That's not fair," Amanda protested. "It's not my fault you dropped out of college. And anyway, Mom and Dad pay my tuition." I gripped the phone tighter. "No, Amanda. I pay your tuition. Directly to the university, every semester. $30,000 a year that I work 60-hour weeks to earn." Silence stretched between us before she responded. "Well, I didn't ask you to do that." I noticed a designer shopping bag visible in her latest Instagram post. "That new coat you're wearing in your photos. How much did it cost?" "What does that have to do with anything?" She deflected. "The money I send for your textbooks and educational expenses. That's where it goes, isn't it? To clothes and parties and spring break trips." "You're being ridiculous," Amanda snapped. "Just because you choose to live like you're poor doesn't mean I have to. I have a reputation to maintain at school." "A reputation funded by your janitor sister," I said bitterly. "God, Emma, this is exactly why I didn't invite you," she exclaimed. "You're so jealous and bitter all the time. Who wants that energy at a Christmas party? You'd probably show up in your work uniform and embarrass everyone." Tears stung my eyes as I leaned against my cold car door. "I have nice clothes, Amanda." "Sure, from Target," she scoffed. "Look, I have to go. My friends are waiting." "Wait," I said. "Are Mom and Dad involved in planning this party?" Her hesitation told me everything. "They're just letting me use the house. It's no big deal. So they know I'm not invited." "Emma, stop making this about you. It's just a stupid party." I ended the call and immediately dialed my parents' number, certain they would be horrified by Amanda's behavior once I explained. My mother answered on the fourth ring. "Emma, is everything okay? You never call during the day. Did you know about Amanda's Christmas party?" I asked without preamble. Mom's voice became guarded. "She mentioned having some friends over during the break." "Why?" "She's inviting the whole family except me. She says I'd embarrass her because I'm a janitor." "Oh, Emma," my mother sighed. "I'm sure she didn't mean it that way. You know how important networking is for her future career." The lack of outrage in my mother's voice made my stomach churn. "So you agree with her?" "I should be excluded from a family gathering because of my job." "Nobody's excluding you," she said in the placating tone she'd always used when I complained about unfair treatment. "It's more of a college event than a family thing. Just a few relatives dropping by. Like Jack and Melissa." I challenged. "They're in the photos helping decorate." "They're closer to Amanda's age," Mom reasoned. "You're always so busy with work anyway. When was the last time you came to a family event without looking exhausted?" "Amanda just wants her party to be lively." Each word felt like another knife twisting in my chest. "I look exhausted because I'm working to support this family," I said, my voice breaking. "To pay for Amanda's education." "That was your choice, Emma," my mother replied, a sudden edge to her voice. "Nobody asked you to martyr yourself. Gerald and I have things under control now." "Under control?" I echoed incredulously. "Who do you think has been paying Amanda's tuition for the past 6 years?" There was a long pause before my mother spoke again. "We appreciate what you contribute, but Amanda's tuition comes from your father's pension and our savings. She also has scholarships. The realization that Amanda had lied to all of us made me dizzy. Either my parents were lying about covering her tuition, or Amanda had been double-dipping, collecting money from both me and them while spending it on luxury items. I need to talk to Dad, I said. He's not home right now, Mom answered quickly. Emma, please don't make a big scene about this party. Amanda has been planning it for weeks, and she's very excited. Weeks, I repeated flatly. So you've all known for weeks that I wasn't included. It's not about you. My mother's patience finally snapped. Not everything in this family revolves around Emma and her feelings. Amanda deserves to have her moment without you casting a shadow over it with your martyrdom complex. I stood in the parking lot, snowflakes melting on my face and mingling with silent tears as the mother I'd sacrificed everything for hung up on me. 2 days passed in a blur of hurt and disbelief. I went through my work motions mechanically, scrubbing hospital floors and sanitizing surfaces, while my mind replayed the conversations with Amanda and my mother. Each mental repetition uncovered new layers of betrayal, 6 years of sacrifice unraveling into a tapestry of exploitation and lies. By Friday evening, I had resolved to address the situation directly. I changed out of my work uniform into jeans and a sweater, then drove to my parents' house, rehearsing calm, rational points I wanted to make. This wasn't about a party invitation. It was about respect and acknowledgement of my contributions to the family. If we could just have an honest conversation, perhaps we could repair what felt increasingly broken. I still had a key, but I knocked anyway, wanting to respect their space. When no one answered after several attempts, I noticed all the cars were in the driveway. Lights blazed from inside, and I could hear voices and laughter. I used my key and stepped into the front hallway. The familiar scent of my mother's cinnamon apple potpourri greeted me, along with the sound of Christmas music playing softly from the living room. I followed the voices and stopped abruptly in the doorway, taking in the scene before me. My parents sat on the couch with Amanda between them, a laptop open on the coffee table. Around them clustered my Aunt Catherine and Uncle Robert, cousins Jack and Melissa, and even my grandmother, all focused on whatever Amanda was showing them on the screen. The caterer can do these adorable mini quiches, Amanda was saying, scrolling through images. And I've asked everyone to dress semi-formal. Melissa, did you find a dress yet? Still looking, Melissa replied. But Jack's going to wear that navy suit from Cousin Bethany's wedding. Perfect. Amanda clapped her hands. Dad, did you pick up the extra chairs from the rental place? My father nodded. All set. And your mother ordered those fancy napkins you wanted. I stood frozen, watching my family plan the event I'd been explicitly told was nothing big and just college friends. The Christmas tree twinkled in the corner, already surrounded by wrapped presents. On the mantel, stockings hung in a row, each embroidered with a family member's name. Everyone except mine. Emma. My grandmother spotted me first, her face lighting up. What a nice surprise. Come give me a hug. All heads turned toward me, expressions ranging from shock to guilt crossing their faces. Amanda recovered first, her smile tightening. Emma, hey, what are you doing here? I came to talk, I said quietly. About the Christmas party I'm not invited to. The one that's apparently a big enough deal to involve rental chairs and catering. An uncomfortable silence fell over the room. My father cleared his throat. Emma, this isn't what it looks like. Really? I stepped fully into the room. Because it looks like a family planning session for a party I've been told is just college friends and not worth my time. Amanda sighed dramatically. See? This is exactly why I didn't want to include her. Always making everything about herself. Amanda, my mother cautioned, but without much conviction. I turned to face my sister directly. You told me this was a small gathering for your professional connections. That you didn't want your janitor sister embarrassing you. Grandmother gasped. Amanda Marie. You said that to your sister. Amanda had the grace to look slightly ashamed, but quickly rallied. I didn't say it like that. Emma's twisting my words. You said exactly that, I insisted. My calm resolve beginning to crack. And apparently, you've been lying about tuition too. Mom says they've been paying it. But I've been sending money directly to Westridge every semester for 6 years. My father stood, his expression hardening. Emma, this isn't the time or place for this discussion. When is the time, Dad? After the party I'm not welcome to attend? After another 6 years of me working myself to exhaustion, while Amanda spends my money on designer clothes, that's enough. My father's voice rose sharply. I won't have you coming in here and ruining a pleasant evening with your jealousy. Jealousy? I echoed in disbelief. I've given up everything for this family. My education, my career, my social life. I work 60-hour weeks cleaning hospital rooms so Amanda can attend a university none of us could otherwise afford. Nobody asked you to do that. Amanda snapped. You chose to drop out and be a janitor. Don't blame me for your life choices. The casual cruelty in her voice silenced the room. Even my father seemed taken aback. Amanda. My Aunt Catherine said softly. That's not fair. What's not fair, Amanda continued, ignoring our aunt, is Emma showing up unannounced to guilt trip everyone because she wasn't invited to my party. My professional networking event that could determine my entire future. Your entire future that I've been funding, I replied, struggling to keep my voice steady. While you lied to all of us about where the money goes. My mother stood now too, her face flushed. Emma, stop this right now. Amanda has worked very hard at school. Her networking is important. And my sacrifices aren't. I asked, looking around at my family's faces, searching for any sign of understanding. Does anyone here actually know what I've given up for the past 6 years? My grandmother started to speak, but my father cut her off. What you've chosen to do with your life is your business, Emma. But you've become increasingly bitter and resentful. Always keeping score, always martyring yourself. Frankly, it's exhausting for all of us. Each word hit like a physical blow. Exhausting for you, I whispered. Yes, he continued, gaining momentum. Everything always has to be about Emma's sacrifices, Emma's hard work, Emma's contributions. Do you have any idea what a financial burden your constant scorekeeping has been on this family? The emotional toll. Gerald, my grandmother warned, but he was too far gone. No, Mother, she needs to hear this. Emma, you chose to work that job. You chose to help with Amanda's tuition. Nobody put a gun to your head. And now you throw it in our faces every chance you get, making Amanda feel guilty for pursuing opportunities. Making your mother and me feel like we failed as parents because you couldn't figure out a better path for yourself. Tears blurred my vision as I struggled to comprehend his words. A better path? I gave up my path so Amanda could have hers. And that's on you, he shouted, making everyone flinch. Build your own house and live there, not criticize your sister. Stop trying to make us all as miserable as you clearly are. A terrible silence followed his outburst. My mother stared at the floor. Amanda looked smug. My relatives shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. In that moment, I saw my family clearly for perhaps the first time. 6 years of sacrifice had earned me nothing but resentment and contempt. I was not a beloved daughter or sister, but a burden, an embarrassment, a constant reminder of what they preferred not to see. I understand now, I said softly, straightening my shoulders. I won't be a burden to any of you anymore. I turned and walked out, ignoring my grandmother calling my name. In my car, I sat motionless for several minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel, waiting for someone, anyone, to come after me. No one did. I drove aimlessly through Portland's snowy streets, windshield wipers pushing away snowflakes and tears equally. Christmas lights blurred into streaks of color as I passed decorated homes and storefronts, each cheerful display a stark contrast to the hollowness expanding inside me. Eventually, I found myself pulling into the parking lot of Riverside Park, where I used to come as a teenager when I needed to think. The park was deserted in the evening snow, peaceful in its winter quietude. I wrapped my coat tighter and walked to a bench overlooking the frozen river, brushing away snow to sit. My phone had been buzzing with text notifications, but I couldn't bear to look yet. Instead, I watched my breath form clouds in the cold air and tried to make sense of what had just happened. 6 years of my life. 72 months of double shifts and aching feet. 2,190 days of putting my dreams on hold while facilitating Amanda's. All that sacrifice, and my father had called me a burden. A source of misery. The villain in our family's story rather than its silent supporter. Memories flooded back, gaining new context with the harsh revelations of the evening. The time I'd skipped my friend Sophia's 30th birthday celebration because Amanda needed emergency money for textbooks the same week she posted photos of a weekend ski trip. The night I'd worked through a fever of 102 degrees to avoid missing a shift and the tuition payment deadline. The countless family dinners where I'd been too exhausted to contribute to conversations dominated by Amanda's adventures. My phone buzzed again, and I finally looked at the screen. A text from my grandmother. Please call me Emma. Your father didn't mean those awful things. Another from Aunt Catherine. What Gerald said was unacceptable. Are you okay? Nothing from my parents or Amanda. I scrolled through my recent photos until I found what I was looking for: a screenshot of my last tuition payment to Westridge University. $32,000 for the academic year, paid in 2 installments. 6 years of payments totaling nearly $200,000. Money that could have completed my nursing degree. Secured a comfortable apartment. Started a retirement fund, all sacrificed for a sister who called me just a janitor and parents who saw me as a burden. As snow continued to fall around me, something shifted inside. The hurt began crystallizing into resolve, the betrayal into clarity. I had given enough. More than enough. I dialed Sophia's number, needing to hear a friendly voice. Emma, she answered, surprised. I was just thinking about you. Are we still on for coffee next week? If you're free tonight instead, I could really use a friend, I said. My voice cracking. 20 minutes later, I sat across from Sophia in a quiet corner of Midnight Brew, her favorite cafe. Steam rose from our mugs as I recounted the evening's events, her expression growing increasingly outraged as I spoke. Those ungrateful. She bit back whatever she'd been about to say. Emma, I've been telling you for years that your family takes advantage of you. But this crosses every line. I know, I admitted, wrapping my cold hands around the warm mug. I think I've always known, but I kept hoping if I just gave enough, they'd eventually see me. Sophia reached across the table and squeezed my arm. They see you. They just don't want to acknowledge what they see because it would force them to recognize their own selfishness. She hesitated, then added, there's something else you should know. Amanda's been telling people at her university that you're mentally unstable. That you work as a janitor because you had some kind of breakdown and couldn't handle a real career. The coffee turned bitter in my mouth. How do you know that? My cousin Jared is in her business program. He met me once when you and I were having lunch, remember? Later. Amanda told him I was your caretaker rather than your friend. Each revelation felt like another crack in the foundation of what I thought was familial love. She's ashamed of me while living off my sacrifices. What are you going to do? Sophia asked gently. I stared into my coffee, seeing my reflection distorted on its surface. I don't know yet. But I know I can't keep doing this. That night, I barely slept, my mind racing through options and scenarios. By morning, I had made my decision. I called Derek Wilson, a financial advisor I'd consulted briefly the previous year when I'd considered refinancing my car loan. I need to separate my finances completely from my family, I explained after securing an emergency appointment. And I need to understand what 6 years of financial support means legally. Derek's office was warm and reassuring, his manner professional as he reviewed my financial documents. "These tuition payments," he said, pointing to the university transfers, "were they loans or gifts?" "Neither, exactly," I replied. "I was helping my family through a difficult time. There was never any formal agreement. Without documentation stating these were loans to be repaid. Legally, they're considered gifts," he explained. "You can stop the payments at any time, but recovering what you've already given would be extremely difficult without written agreements." "I don't need the money back," I said, surprising myself with how true it felt. "I just need to stop the bleeding." For the next 2 hours, Derek helped me create a comprehensive financial separation plan. I opened new accounts at a different bank, redirected my direct deposit, calculated a realistic budget based solely on my own needs, and drafted a formal letter to Westridge University terminating my payment arrangement for Amanda's tuition. "What about your own education goals?" Derek asked as our meeting concluded. "I'm 6 credits away from an associate's degree in nursing administration," I replied. "With my hospital's tuition assistance and without Amanda's expenses, I could finish by next summer and apply for the bachelor's completion program." For the first time in years, speaking about my own future felt real rather than hypothetical. The weight of obligation had become so familiar that its absence left me feeling almost weightless. That afternoon, I viewed 3 apartment listings, putting a deposit on a small but sunny 1-bedroom unit across town. The landlady, a retired nurse named Martha, approved my application on the spot after hearing I worked at Portland Memorial. "My husband was treated there last year," she explained. "The environmental services staff kept his room spotless during his pneumonia. That work matters." Her simple acknowledgement brought unexpected tears to my eyes. By evening, I had arranged a weekend moving truck for my modest possessions stored in my parents' garage and ordered basic furniture for delivery to my new apartment. I drafted but didn't yet send 3 emails, one to my parents explaining my decision, one to Amanda detailing the termination of tuition payments, and one to my extended family clarifying the situation from my perspective. As I prepared for bed in my temporary hotel room, my phone rang. It was my grandmother. "Emma, dear, please tell me you're all right," she said without preamble. "I've been worried sick." "I'm okay, Grandma," I assured her. "Just taking some time to think." "Your father is too proud to admit when he's wrong," she said. "But what he said to you is unforgivable." "It wasn't just what he said," I explained carefully. "It was realizing that after 6 years of sacrifice, that's how my family sees me. As a burden. A source of guilt rather than support." My grandmother was quiet for a moment. "Not everyone sees you that way, Emma. Some of us have watched you give and give while receiving so little in return. It broke my heart, but you seemed so determined." "I was determined to help my family through a crisis," I said. "But the crisis ended years ago. Now I'm just being exploited." "What will you do?" she asked. "Start over," I replied, a sense of peace settling over me as I spoke the words aloud. "Build my own life instead of funding Amanda's." "Whatever you decide, you have my support," my grandmother said firmly. "And Gerald will be hearing exactly what I think about his behavior. I promise you that." After we hung up, I sat on the edge of the hotel bed, looking out at the city lights. The hurt hadn't disappeared, but alongside it grew something new, a sense of possibility, of doors opening rather than closing. For 6 years, I had defined myself by what I gave to others. Now I had the chance to discover who Emma Taylor might become when she put herself first. I sent the 3 emails I'd drafted, turned off my phone, and slept more soundly than I had in years. The weekend passed in a blur of activity as I moved into my new apartment. Sophia and 2 other friends from the hospital helped carry boxes and assemble furniture, turning the empty space into something that felt surprisingly like home. My few possessions from my parents' garage now breathed more freely with room to exist on their own terms, much like me. "This place suits you," Sophia declared as we collapsed onto my new couch Sunday evening, surveying our handiwork. The apartment was small but filled with natural light, with windows overlooking a neighborhood park. I'd splurged on a comfortable reading chair positioned to catch the morning sun, a luxury I'd never allowed myself before. It feels strange, I admitted. Having space that's just mine. Making decisions without considering everyone else first. That's called being an adult, Sophia replied, handing me a glass of the housewarming wine she'd brought. Most of us have been doing it for years. You're just catching up. On Monday morning, I walked into my supervisor's office at the hospital and requested to use some of my accumulated vacation time, nearly 6 weeks' worth, that I'd never taken. About time, Dave remarked, signing off on the request. The hospital won't collapse without you for a few days, Taylor. Take a breath. God knows you've earned it. For 3 days, I existed in peaceful isolation. I slept late, read books for pleasure, took long walks in the park, and began researching nursing administration programs that would accept my associate's degree credits. I kept my phone off, allowing myself space to heal without the constant pull of family obligation. When I finally powered it back on Thursday morning, it immediately began buzzing with notifications. 27 missed calls, 43 text messages, 15 voicemails. The first text was from Amanda, sent just hours after I'd emailed her about the tuition. Is this some kind of joke? Call me immediately. The second, sent the following day, the university financial office contacted me about unpaid tuition. Fix this now. The messages grew increasingly desperate and angry over the following days. The final one, sent that morning, simply read, Mom and Dad are freaking out. We need to talk. My parents' messages followed a similar pattern, beginning with confusion, escalating to anger, then shifting to concern, and finally pleas for contact. Emma, what's going on with Amanda's tuition? Call us. Day 1. This childish behavior needs to stop. You can't punish your sister because your feelings were hurt. Day 2. The university is threatening to put Amanda on financial hold. This isn't funny anymore. Day 3. We're worried about you. Please just let us know you're safe. Day 4. Emma, please. We need to talk about this as a family. That morning, I scrolled through the rest from extended family members, most expressing concern about my well-being. A few taking sides in the conflict. Aunt Catherine's message stood out. Proud of you for finally standing up for yourself. Call if you need anything. The voicemails told a similar story. Though hearing the escalating panic in my mother's voice and rage in my father's made my stomach clench. Amanda's final message included the sound of her crying. Something I hadn't heard since she was a child. Emma, please, she sobbed into the phone. I have finals next week, and they won't let me take them if the tuition isn't paid. Everything I've worked for is going to be ruined. Please don't do this to me. I set the phone down and made myself a cup of tea, processing the messages. Not once in any communication did my parents or Amanda acknowledge what they'd said to me or how they'd treated me. Their concern was entirely focused on the practical consequences of my decision, not the emotional causes behind it. After finishing my tea, I sent a single group text to my parents and Amanda. I am safe and well. My decision regarding tuition is final. I will not be discussing it further at this time. Then I blocked their numbers temporarily, needing more time without their voices in my head. At the hospital the next day, I approached Dave about the management training program I'd been quietly eligible for since my promotion to supervisor. I'd like to apply, I told him. I think I'm ready for more responsibility. Dave's eyebrows shot up in surprise, but he smiled. About damn time, Taylor. The last 3 environmental services managers all came up through that program. I've been waiting for you to show interest. I've been distracted by family obligations, I explained carefully. That's changed now. Well, the timing's good. New cohort starts in January. I'll put your name forward today. Word spread quickly among my coworkers about my application to the management program. To my surprise, many expressed not just support but a complete lack of surprise. "Always knew you were management material," said Rita, a veteran environmental services worker who'd trained me years ago. "The way you organize the rotation schedules, handle complaints, train the new people, it's obvious." "But I'm just a janitor," I said without thinking. Rita fixed me with a stern look. "You've never been just anything, Emma. And neither am I. This hospital would collapse without environmental services, and don't you forget it." Her words stayed with me throughout the day, a counter-narrative to Amanda's dismissal of my work. I'd internalized so much shame about my job that I'd failed to recognize its value and my own competence within it. That evening, my building's mail carrier delivered a thick envelope from Westridge University. Inside was Amanda's academic warning notice, informing her of her placement on financial probation due to unpaid tuition. A copy had been sent to me as the previous payer of the account. Included was Amanda's academic transcript. I stared at it in disbelief. Her GPA hovered just above the minimum requirement for continued enrollment. She'd withdrawn from multiple classes each semester, repeating them later at additional cost. What should have been a 4-year degree program was now in its 6th year, with at least 2 more semesters needed for completion. The money I'd sacrificed everything for had been funding academic mediocrity and social excess. Amanda's networking appeared to be coming at the expense of actual learning. I set the documents aside, feeling strangely calm. The revelation should have angered me further, but instead it simply confirmed the rightness of my decision. I had been investing in a fictional version of my sister who valued education and would eventually make our family proud. The reality was someone who took my sacrifice for granted while mocking its source. A week after moving into my new apartment, I received an unexpected visitor. My grandmother stood at my door, holding a small potted plant. "Housewarming gift," she said, handing me the plant. "A peace lily. Low maintenance, but adds life to a room." I invited her in, grateful for her presence. We sat at my small kitchen table, drinking tea and catching up on neutral topics before she finally addressed the elephant in the room. "Your parents and Amanda are in quite a state," she said. "The university has placed Amanda on academic probation until the tuition situation is resolved. She can't register for next semester's classes." "I know," I replied. "I received the notice." Grandmother nodded. "Gerald and Nancy have been calling everyone in the family asking for loans. They don't have the money to cover it. Apparently. They've been using what you gave them for other expenses, believing the tuition was being handled separately." "By me," I clarified. "Yes," she agreed, though they seemed genuinely confused about that arrangement. "Amanda told them the money you sent was for educational expenses, but apparently led each of you to believe the other was handling the actual tuition." The manipulation was so clear now. Yet I'd been blind to it for years. "How do you feel about all this?" Grandmother asked gently. I considered the question carefully. Lighter, I finally said. "Like I've set down a burden I never should have been carrying alone." She reached across the table and patted my hand. "Good. It's about time." Before leaving, my grandmother paused at the door. "They'll come around eventually, you know. Once the shock wears off." "Maybe," I said. "But our relationship will never be the same." "No," she agreed. "And that might be for the best." 3 weeks after moving into my new apartment, I returned home from a hospital shift to find my parents' car parked outside my building. My heart rate immediately accelerated as I considered driving past and avoiding the confrontation. But avoidance had never solved anything, and this moment had been inevitable from the start. I parked beside them and took a deep breath before getting out. My parents and Amanda were standing near the building entrance, looking uncomfortable and out of place. Amanda's eyes were red-rimmed, her usually perfect appearance disheveled. My father's face was set in the stern expression I'd known since childhood, while my mother seemed to have aged years in the weeks since I'd last seen her. "How did you find my address?" I asked as I approached. Aunt Catherine, Amanda admitted. Don't be mad at her. We said it was an emergency. And is it? I unlocked the building door, holding it open. They could either follow me inside or leave. I wouldn't have this conversation on the sidewalk. They followed me silently up the stairs to my apartment. Once inside, they stood awkwardly in my small living room, taking in the modest but comfortable space I'd created for myself. Nice place, my mother finally said. It gets good light. Thank you. I set down my bag and coat. Would anyone like water or tea? They declined, the forced politeness stretching between us like a rubber band ready to snap. Emma, this has gone on long enough. My father finally said, his voice trying for authoritative but landing somewhere closer to desperate. Amanda has been placed on academic probation. She can't take her finals or register for next semester. Everything she's worked for is in jeopardy. Everything I've paid for, you mean, I corrected quietly. That's what we need to discuss. My mother interjected. There seems to be some confusion about the financial arrangements. No confusion on my part, I said, maintaining my calm. I've been paying Amanda's tuition directly to Westridge for 6 years. Nearly $200,000 total. Money I earned working 60-hour weeks as a janitor. The job you're all so ashamed of. No one's ashamed, my father protested weakly. Really? I raised an eyebrow. Amanda called me just a janitor and excluded me from a family Christmas gathering because she was embarrassed by my occupation. You called me a burden and told me to build my own house rather than criticize her. Those sound like the words of people who are ashamed. Amanda stepped forward, tears welling in her eyes. I'm sorry I said those things, Emma. I was stressed about the party and lashed out. You know I value everything you've done for me. Do I know that? I asked. Because from where I'm standing, you've taken my support for granted while lying to me about your academic performance and spending the additional educational expense, money I sent on designer clothes and vacations. That's not fair, she protested, though without much conviction. I've seen your transcript, Amanda, I said quietly. The university sent me a copy with the financial probation notice. 6 years of barely passing grades, withdrawn classes, and repeated courses. That's what my sacrifice has been funding. My parents exchanged confused glances. What are you talking about? My father asked. Amanda's on the dean's list. She's excelling in her business program. A heavy silence filled the room as the implication of his words sank in. I turned to Amanda, whose face had drained of color. You lied to them too, I realized aloud. About your grades, about where the money was coming from, about everything. I needed to make them proud. She whispered. Everyone always expected so much from me. So much. I echoed incredulously. Amanda, you've been given every advantage, every opportunity. While I put my entire life on hold to support you. My mother sank onto my couch, looking shell-shocked. I don't understand. Who's been paying the tuition? What's happening with your grades? I walked to my desk and retrieved the file of financial records and academic documents I'd compiled. Everything's in here. Every payment I've made to Westridge for the past 6 years. Amanda's complete transcript. The financial probation notice. My father took the file with shaking hands and began reviewing the documents, my mother looking over his shoulder. Their expressions shifted from confusion to shock to dismay as they absorbed the truth. $200,000, my father murmured, looking up at me. From your janitor's salary? Environmental services supervisor now. Actually, I corrected. I was promoted last year, though no one bothered to ask about my career. And I've been taking night classes. I'm 6 credits away from my associate's degree in nursing administration. Why didn't you tell us? My mother asked. I tried. Many times. But conversations in our family have revolved around Amanda for as long as I can remember. My father continued flipping through the documents, stopping at Amanda's transcript. These grades. Amanda, you told us you were getting mostly A's and B's. Amanda stared at the floor, tears streaming down her face. I was trying so hard, but everything was so difficult. And there was so much pressure, and the parties and social events were important for networking, and I couldn't do it all. So you lied, he said flatly. To all of us. I'm sorry, she whispered. An uncomfortable silence filled the room. My mother looked years older than she had when they arrived, the weight of these revelations visibly crushing her previous worldview. What happens now? She finally asked, looking at me. That depends on all of you, I replied. I've made my decision. I will not be paying Amanda's tuition anymore. My financial support of this family has ended. I'm focusing on my own education and career now. We can't afford the tuition, my father admitted, defeat evident in his voice. Not at Westridge's rates. There are other options, I said. Community college, state university, student loans, part-time jobs. The same options most people have. But my degree. Amanda protested weakly. My friends? Are those friends worth $200,000? I asked. Because that's what I've paid for them so far. No one had an answer to that. I want to be clear about something, I continued, feeling stronger with each word. I don't regret helping our family during a genuine crisis. When Dad's business failed and we were about to lose the house, stepping up was the right thing to do. What I regret is allowing that temporary emergency to become a permanent arrangement where my sacrifices were taken for granted and even mocked. My father looked up from the documents, his expression unreadable. I said terrible things to you, Emma. Things no father should ever say to his daughter. I was wrong, and I'm deeply ashamed. It was the first genuine apology I'd heard from any of them, and something tight in my chest loosened slightly. The truth is, he continued, his voice breaking. Watching you work so hard while Amanda seemed to coast through life on your dime, it made me feel like a failure as a father. To both of you. It was easier to blame you for choosing that path than to acknowledge my own shortcomings. We failed you, my mother added, tears in her eyes. We've been so focused on Amanda's potential that we completely overlooked what you were actually achieving despite every obstacle. Amanda remained silent, staring at her expensive shoes against my modest apartment floor. I'm not looking for apologies, I said carefully. I'm establishing boundaries. I love you all. But I need to prioritize my own well-being and future now. What does that mean practically? My father asked. It means I'll attend family gatherings if I'm genuinely welcomed, not as an afterthought or obligation. It means my career and education will be respected, not mocked. It means Amanda needs to take responsibility for her own choices instead of relying on me to bail her out. I turned to my sister. And it means honesty, Amanda. About everything. No more manipulation or lies. She nodded silently, unable to meet my eyes. As they prepared to leave an hour later, the air between us felt different. Not healed, not yet, but clearer. The hidden resentments and unspoken expectations had been dragged into the light, making space for something potentially healthier to grow in their place. At the door, my mother paused. We're having a small family dinner next Sunday. Would you consider coming? Just the four of us. I'll think about it, I promised, neither accepting nor rejecting the tentative olive branch. After they left, I sat in my reading chair by the window, watching as they walked to their car. My father had his arm around Amanda, who was openly crying now. My mother looked back up at my window once before they drove away. The phone rang, startling me from my thoughts. It was Aunt Catherine. They found you, I see, she said without preamble. How did it go? About as well as could be expected, I replied. The truth is out, at least. Good, she said firmly. It's long overdue. Listen, Emma. I know they're your immediate family, but you have others who care about you too. Don't let their mistakes make you think you're alone in this world. Her words brought unexpected tears to my eyes. Thank you, I managed. Take all the time you need, she continued. But remember that healing often happens in community, not isolation. After we hung up, I watched the winter sunset paint my new walls with golden light. For the first time in years, I felt neither responsible for everyone else's happiness nor guilty for considering my own. It was an unfamiliar feeling, this tentative freedom, but one I was finally ready to embrace. 6 months passed, bringing spring blossoms and new beginnings that felt appropriately symbolic. In my small apartment, I'd created a space that truly reflected me rather than just my obligations, framed photographs of hiking trips with friends, bookshelves filled with nursing texts and novels, a yoga mat permanently unrolled in the corner where I practiced each morning. The most significant change sat framed on my desk, a certificate declaring the completion of my associate's degree in nursing administration. With it came acceptance into Portland University's RN to BSN program, which I would begin in the fall with substantial financial aid, and my hospital's tuition assistance program. My relationship with my family had evolved through cautious steps over these months. The Sunday dinner my mother had invited me to became the first of monthly family meals where we carefully rebuilt our connections on more equal footing. These gatherings were sometimes awkward, occasionally tense, but increasingly genuine as new patterns slowly replaced old dynamics. Amanda had faced the most dramatic changes, unable to continue at Westridge without my financial support. She'd withdrawn from the university and enrolled in Portland Community College's business administration program. She'd also taken a part-time job at a local coffee shop, experiencing for the first time what it meant to balance work and education. "I never realized how exhausting it is," she admitted during one of our tentative sister lunches, which had recently become a bi-weekly occurrence. "Working all morning, classes all afternoon, homework at night. I don't know how you did this for years." "You do what you have to do," I replied, though her acknowledgement meant more than I wanted to admit. Our parents had struggled financially after the truth emerged, eventually downsizing to a smaller house that better matched their actual retirement income. The process had been humbling for them, particularly my father, whose pride had taken the hardest hit when the extent of their dependence on me became undeniable. "We should have adjusted our lifestyle years ago," he confessed during a private conversation on my birthday. "Instead, we maintained appearances at your expense." I can never fully express how sorry I am for that, Emma. The most profound changes, however, happened within me. After years of defining myself through sacrifice and obligation, I was discovering who Emma Taylor could be when she prioritized her own dreams and boundaries. I joined a hiking group, started dating occasionally, and even began volunteering at a career mentoring program for young women interested in healthcare professions. "You should see her with these girls," Sophia told our friend group during a summer barbecue. "She's like a different person, explaining the hospital hierarchy, teaching them about advancement opportunities, showing them that no starting position is just anything if you bring your full self to it." The program director had even asked me to share my story as part of their speaker series. Standing before a group of young women in their school auditorium, I spoke openly about my journey from environmental services worker to management track professional and nursing student. "The most important lesson I've learned," I told them, "is that helping others is valuable and necessary, but not at the complete expense of yourself. Your dreams matter too. Your path matters too. And sometimes the healthiest thing you can do for yourself and others is to establish clear boundaries." Thanksgiving arrived with golden leaves and crisp air, bringing with it our family's first holiday gathering since the Christmas party debacle nearly a year earlier. This time, the celebration was held at Aunt Catherine's house, a neutral territory that removed some of the emotional landmines of our family home. I brought homemade cranberry sauce and a quiet confidence that hadn't existed the previous year. Amanda brought store-bought rolls and a humility that was still new but increasingly genuine. Our parents brought side dishes and tentative hope that our family could continue healing. After dinner, As everyone relaxed in the living room with coffee and pie, my father cleared his throat. If everyone doesn't mind, I'd like to say something. He looked unusually nervous, clutching his coffee mug with both hands. This past year has been one of significant change for our family. Some of it painful, all of it necessary. The room quieted as everyone turned their attention to him. Last Thanksgiving, we were living a life built on Emma's sacrifices and Amanda's illusions. None of us were truly seeing each other or ourselves clearly. He looked directly at me. Emma, what you did by standing up for yourself was the bravest thing I've ever witnessed. You forced us all to face uncomfortable truths and begin living more honestly. My mother wiped tears from her eyes, nodding in agreement. I know we have a long way to go, my father continued. Trust rebuilds slowly, and we've given you every reason to be cautious with yours. But I want you to know that I see you now, Emma. I see your strength, your intelligence, your determination. I see the incredible woman you've become despite, not because of, our parenting. And I am immensely proud to be your father. Tears blurred my vision as emotions I'd kept carefully controlled for months rose to the surface. Thank you, I managed to say. That means a lot. Amanda reached for my hand across the couch, squeezing it gently. I see you too, she said softly. And I'm trying to be someone worthy of being your sister. The moment wasn't perfect or complete. Years of damage couldn't be undone in a single holiday speech. But it was authentic in a way our family interactions had rarely been. And that authenticity created space for genuine healing to continue. Later that evening, as I helped Aunt Catherine wash dishes, she bumped my shoulder gently with hers. You've changed them. You know, all of them, by changing yourself first. I didn't set out to change anyone, I replied, drying a serving platter. I just couldn't keep living that way. That's often how the most meaningful changes happen, she observed. Not through deliberate attempts to fix others, but by refusing to participate in unhealthy patterns yourself. As I drove home that night to my small but beloved apartment, I reflected on the journey of the past year. The pain hadn't disappeared entirely and likely never would. Some trust, once broken, leaves permanent fault lines in relationships. But alongside that reality existed new possibility, the chance to build connections based on mutual respect rather than exploitation. To love without losing myself in the process. The following weekend, I sat in a coffee shop with a young woman named Jasmine whom I'd met through the mentoring program. Recently hired as an environmental services worker at Portland Memorial, she had the same mixture of determination and uncertainty I'd felt years earlier. Everyone keeps telling me it's just a starter job, she confided, that I shouldn't get comfortable there. There's no such thing as just a job, I told her firmly. Every role in that hospital saves lives in its own way, including yours. Her eyes widened slightly. I never thought about it like that. I started exactly where you are, I reminded her. And yes, I'm advancing my education now, but that doesn't devalue the essential work I did for years. Our society needs to stop treating certain jobs as stepping stones and others as destinations. All work has dignity when it's done with pride and purpose. As I spoke, I realized how completely I had internalized this truth, exorcising the shame that had once colored my perspective. No one would ever again make me feel less than for the work I had done or the choices I had made. That night, I updated my online journal, a practice I'd begun during the darkest days after leaving my parents' house. Its pages chronicled my journey from sacrifice to self-respect, from obligation to opportunity. The hardest lesson I've learned this year, I wrote, is that true family isn't determined by blood or obligation, but by mutual respect and genuine care. Some blood relatives earn the privilege of being family through their actions. Others prove themselves unworthy of that title, at least for a time. And some people with no biological connection become more family than those who share our DNA. I don't regret the sacrifices I made when they were truly needed. But I'm grateful every day that I found the courage to stop sacrificing myself when those sacrifices became expected rather than appreciated. In setting boundaries with my family, I've discovered parts of myself that had been submerged beneath years of obligation and resentment. The journey continues, and some days are still harder than others. But for perhaps the first time, I'm living my life rather than subsidizing someone else's. And that has made all the difference. I closed the journal and walked to my window, looking out at the city lights. Tomorrow would bring a hospital shift, a nursing school application meeting, and dinner with Sophia. Next week held a family dinner that might be awkward or healing or some combination of both. The future beyond that remained unwritten, full of possibilities that were finally, truly mine to explore. What would you do if you found yourself in a situation like mine? Have you ever had to establish difficult boundaries with family members who took you for granted? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about finding strength in difficult situations. Thank you for listening to my journey. And remember that sometimes the most loving thing you can do both for yourself and others is to stand firmly in your own worth.